2018. Another year of trap music surrealism hitting the charts, headlines about Ariana Grande, and more reveals that the members of your favorite bands are abusive pricks. Although I like to be optimistic about listening to new music, you can't plow through the amount of music that I do in a year without encountering some records that make my face turn a bright purpley colour. I do have a worst albums of the year list ready to be thrust upon the internet very aggressively, but before that I want to talk about the bad songs that I heard this year. Don't worry, your lo-fi hip-hop remix of a Childish Gambino song that you uploaded to SoundCloud won't be up for this. I will only put on blast the artists that truly deserve it, mainly because I expect a lot better. Mostly anyways. Feel free to read the written version of this list on my blog if you're getting sick of my voice already. It's only fair game. Oh, Sir Paul McCartney, you can keep your legacy as one of modern music's shining icons, so now feel free to make forays into whichever musical style your heart desires now. Seriously, I mean it. If you wanted to, you could record some emo trap through a headset mic, handstanding on the buttocks of Anthony Kiedis. Express yourself, buddy, you've earned it. If you want to write some lyrics about wanting to get wild with a significant other, sure. But wherever you head, know that if you drop a single called Far You, sounding like the intersection point between a Chainsmokers song and royalty-free vlogging music strummed on the ukulele, I don't expect myself to have any much more choice than to just chuckle at least a little bit, because that sounds awkward. I just wanna fuck you. I just wanna fuck you. I don't want to say that the song is unacceptable. It's a cheery song written with the tone of an anonymous crush admission message on Curious Cat. I think what makes it laughable is just how banal the song sounds, furthermore how it reads. I love that so proud and real, you make me want to go out and steal. Goodness, Ryan Tedder must have had aching muscles from how hard he pushed the boat out with that one. Even amidst a new album filled with colourful but standard fare pop songs, something this vivid and sumptuous sticks out of the track listing and the rest of McCartney's late career like an epigastric hernia. Muse's forays into neo-80s synthwave made their new album The Ready Player One of music in 2018. Although their ham-fisted politics are more ham than fist, and that they sound very bold and big, but their lyrics in actuality seem to skirt around the chosen topic like a toilet duck, I could have let them go on to do whatever they wanted, without needing demanding old me having to follow them around like an annoying kid in high school who keeps asking you for bits of your morning tea. Propaganda was bad enough for me to consider though. It baffles me that you can have so many interesting influences over the course of a release and still have none of them work. But Muse have been very good at showcasing that in recent years. With each new section of the song, it manages to trip over the laces on its light-up sneakers. A stuttering intro hook with the pitch shifted down to the point where it sounds like a broken tennis ball machine, dubstep wobbles, trap beats, church organ, a funky attempt at channeling Prince's swagger, Matt Bellamy's falsetto, and for the price of that bundle, you can receive a complimentary acoustic guitar slide solo as well, which doesn't even fit at all. Everything at once doesn't mean it'll be good, and I appreciate the attempts to sound badass, but badassery stopped being Muse's forte back in 2009. I don't usually disregard the idea of combining emo music with trap. It has some possibility of working, but the song I've chosen for here is a case where it just sounds more plain bad than anything else. Holding on to things I had, I bottle up inside. I would like to disclaim that I think Princess NOKIA is a perfectly capable artist who functions well in her forte of New York hip-hop. But a cold, lifeless and lyrically try-hard attempt at auto-tuned R&B with easy-baked sad vibe lyrics is a difficult case to make, especially if your vocal melody comes dangerously close to having less than one note. Jedward are back. This is not a drill. Apparently they still have been around in recent years, but only now has this new song from them reminded me that they did in fact exist in one point in time. And to be honest, Jedward are a bit too harmless to be bothered writing long angry scripts about, and even what I want to say about Karma isn't really angry, just baffled and very, very amused. You should get ready, cause the day's gonna come when all the things you did get shoved in your face. I said it seems to be a haters gonna hate anthem that ends up being a bit more counterproductive than perhaps intended, because I've never felt a bit more justified to revel in the absolute sheer complete of something. I never even realized that you could sing emojis, but it happened. It's not even like Jedward sound that convincing either. They sound completely out of breath on this track. You know what this song reminds me of? 2008. Not just the Europop trance production that reminds me a lot of Bass Hunter, but also the lyrics, which read a lot like a forum post on Roblox. And I should know, I used that site back in the day. DJ CARNAGE probably didn't even produce his album, and it still felt phoned in. There are lots of contenders here for utterly woeful attempts to sew EDM and hip-hop together with the sinew of decaying geese corpses, but HEADLOCK featuring KILLY takes the billy for being silly beyond comprehensibility. If KILLY's autotune splattered crooning sounded any less in tune with the warbling, distorted trap instrumental, Captain Beefheart would have been summoned from his grave, gone out and pissed along the middle of the autobahn on a lime scooter. Boom, 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 every day. It seemed unlikely that a single from an ambient techno producer would make the list, since judging anything as abstract and niche as that is largely subjective and dependent on how long you're willing to listen to the same musical loops for. Some cheeky rascals decide to keep them going for half an hour. Anyways, this one track here is relatively short, but just like it says on my favourite t-shirt to wear into town, size doesn't matter. In fact, this one could have only been worsened by a greater track length. The orb function on atmosphere and dubby instrumental loops to keep time from catching a heavy snooze, but it's on WOLFBANE where things begin to melt into a big pile of 14-year-old meme soundboard goo, as one of the greats in ambient and minimal techno music brings the most phoned-in drum loop that you could probably find in a folder of iMovie music samples, and plasters unfunny memes from 2014 over them like your geography teacher trying to be quirky. The orb were ballsy enough to make this the lead single to an album that is otherwise taking itself pretty seriously. Internet jokes dead in the past that shouldn't be toyed around with unless you're brave enough to bring a scalpel and tweezers back to a grape. I brought up XXXtentacion earlier in a snarky manner, but it's time to be serious.
Suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know ya. I'm sad, I know ya.
Knowing that the man had perpetrated extremely abusive actions upon his partner at the time, and such has since been confirmed with released recordings of his prison confessions, you might be thinking that it's poor on my behalf to let the context surrounding an artist influence my thoughts on the art itself, especially considering the artist died at the hands of gun murder. But it's a shame that for sad I wouldn't even be able to separate the two even if I tried. Not that I'd ever bother to listen to the man's material at large, but this was a legitimate hit song that I was hearing, one that may initially sound alright as a summer jam, until you hear the lyrics and realise that X is perpetuating the same abusive bullshit that his fans and a shocking amount of hip-hop listeners are willing to defend him for. But that's okay, keep threatening suicide if your partner decides to leave you. That's not a dangerous peddle of emotional abuse at all. I'm sure that those toxic vigils will keep lighting up like measles on the skin of planet Earth. Having given enough pissed off energy towards the tasteless aesthetic choices of Yungblud, it's no surprise that he gains a big spot here. Quite frankly, it's only telling that I struggled to figure out which of his songs I wanted to include, each one being just as disgustingly portrayed as the next. Nothing's quite as tragic as putting up the facade of addressing the topic of living with mental health disorders, and then rocking a straitjacket in your music video, drooling blood, flailing your arms around and pretending that medication is going to cause you to lose control of your moral compass by buying guns and going on a murderous rampage. It's probably less the message that offends, more the delivery, like a big postal truck with "Suck My Willy" spray canned on the side. There's enough to be flummoxed by, just by watching the music video. The song itself sounds like they slapped trap beats on one of the reggae jams from 21 Pilots and called it a day, which is ironic considering they didn't even seem to give any of this even a minute of thought, using the phrase psychotic kids to describe the way that parents look condescendingly upon their children. This is a concept that could have been brought out into an acceptable form, had they not made it a bloody overblown theatre show out of the whole notion of psychological disorders, which baffles me because the rest of his album seems to act as if that was a discussion he wanted to respect, but it buries any potential for subtlety or care with stage smoke, fire geysers, flashing spotlights, and garnished with a lawnmower tank's worth of coriander. Bon fucking appetit. Tom MacDonald is the natural progression of white rappers in hip-hop, an artist with no respect for what the genre is doing, attempting to come into the scene, trash talk those in it, and write songs about what hip-hop artists should be doing instead. Then you write a song like White Boy, a 4.5 minute long All Lives Matter temper tantrum, acting as if you're experiencing a heavy dose of victimization and reverse racism on the basis that you're white. Pretty sure that you wouldn't if you weren't writing songs like this.
I cannot feel guilty for that I didn't do, but I can understand the reasons why you think that I should.
It's not a stop the hate, let's all get along song if you begin fantasizing up a persecution complex. Piss off with your braids and quote-unquote pretty blue eyes and take your facts don't care about feelings ethos back to Facebook boomer groups.
Saying shit like white people that you hate aren't your neighbors or lawyers, they're the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bushes, and Royals. They're the people who monopolized the water and oil and injected your communities with drugs till they spoil. Yeah, that is true, and that's exactly why you shouldn't have made this song. Because whenever people complain about white people or old white men or, straight white people, they're talking about people like that. They're not talking about literally everyone. Yeah, it's a generalization, but anyone with half a brain cell understands the difference. But in general, yeah, there is a very, very small minority of people on the planet who are truly just racist against white people. Yeah, that's a thing, but does that represent any type of sizable or, you know, a group even worth acknowledging? No, it doesn't. It's not an actual problem that you're going to face in daily life. It's not something that is actually going to cause you to be oppressed. It's never going to cause you any real problems. It's not something that's going to affect your life. There's stories that you read on the news of just gay people being and trans people being shot and killed just for being who they are. Stop trying to make it seem like this is some pressing issue when there's so much worse shit going on.
There's been a lot of trap or trap-influenced music here. I promise that I do not hate the genre, but when something is so popular in the mainstream now that everyone seems to want to get a slice of it, you're bound to be exposed to a lot more failures than you might hope. Thankfully, this band is a bit too niche to be played in clubs, especially as it's a band that plays black metal. It's no secret that the band Peste Noire are literal fucking Nazis that still get underground acclaim because their guitars sound cool and their lyrics are in French. But when they decide to combine their style with hip-hop and they dash it with a hint of synthwave, the possibility of their music continuing to sound at the very least atmospherically pleasing is flushed down the loo. At best, the frontman can't make his scream sound anywhere near menacing. At worst, it's a song about white power. That's not a revelation, really. Anyone who knows about Peste Noire is well aware of that. I guess it's just the case for this white power music sounding worse than the previous white power music. A pointless competition, I know. And with that, we have a bonus list, the top 5 songs this year that are so bad that they're absolute masterpieces. Number 5, Weezer with Zombie Bastards, which is its own Minecraft parody. Number 4, A Perfect Circle, Hourglass. If you soak run-of-the-mill alternative rock in a glass of milk for 24 hours, eventually it'll sound like this song. And yet it takes this a step further with vocal impersonations of Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse and Daft Punk respectively. It's amazingly goofy. Number 3, Bella Thorne with Bitch I'm Bella Thorne. Sorry, I didn't hear you the first time. Who are you? That's my problem with the song, it's just far too vague. We don't come out of it knowing who she might just be. Number 2, I Love Friday, Mia Khalifa. A diss track in response to a fake tweet by an ex-porn star blew up and became the unintentional anthem of video app TikTok. I need to have a big think about this one. Number 1, J-Rock with Win. Get out the way, get out the way, get out the way! Win! Win, 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 win! Fuck everything else! Win, 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 win! Politics in that bitch! Win, 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 win! These bitches ain't shit!